Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Yano-kun's Ordinary Days, Season 1, Episode 7. Great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, I want to bring up something, this had to be like maybe a couple days ago, might be a little bit longer, at least a couple days ago at the time of recording this. I want to say it's on the Crunchyroll YouTube channel. They cut out a scene or two from last episode. I think it's specifically the sequence where Yano was kind of going crazy and being very upfront about everything, and everyone's kind of shocked, including Kyoko. The reason why I'm bringing this up, because I don't know what the full context of the video is. It's on a couple minutes, so it's somewhere in that territory of the sequencing of the episode, but it's specifically the title of the video, something like, yo, this dude skipped 24 episodes of slow burn romance, and I was like, that's so good. I had to talk about it because I love that title so much, because it's so good and so true, because even I talked about it last episode. I was like, there's no way that just happened, right? I was like, we're on episode 6 at that point. I'm like, there's no way we just did that. So the fact that the title kind of reflects that too, I think is so funny. And I'm sure even manga-wise, for that to happen so early in the story too. I mean, depending on whether it's still fairly early in the manga or whether we're kind of skipping and bouncing around or not. And having not read the manga, I don't know. But either way, sorry about that. That was outside the context of the show, but I mean, it's in relation to the context of the show, so I wanted to comment on that because I just thought it was so funny. But anyway, getting into the actual episode itself, we start with, it's kind of during the PE class, and they're having to do the high jump and over the bar. And I think it's so fascinating because everyone's like, oh my god, Yano's up, but he's going to get hurt, right? Because the person before him didn't, couldn't go over the bar, and he does his thing, and he does pretty effortlessly without getting, I don't want to say effortlessly, but he does it pretty well without getting hurt, which is right, constant reminder, he might be the clumsy person that he is accident prone and injury prone, but he is still very athletic. Then it gets to Kyoko's turn, and she couldn't do it, but then Yano, because Yano heard her be like, oh my god, Yano-kun's pretty cool. And he's like, well, I want to go again. And he goes again and again, and the bar keeps getting raised higher and higher. But every time he hits the mat, he ends up getting flung off of it. So he's getting hurt in the process. And everyone's like, wow, he's going over the bar, but he keeps hurting himself. And Kyoko wants to stop him and take him to the nurse's office. But Tanaka was like, no, you can't. His pride as a man is just driving him, so you don't want to interrupt it. Because he ends up talking about it. It's because Kyoko said that he looked cool, so he wanted to impress her more and more. It's that pride got the best of him. It's like, oh, I want to show off in front of the person I like. It's like, oh, you think I'm cool? Then I want to be extra cool for you. It's it's something really sweet and adorable about that. He's like, yeah, I'm not that badly injured. This is not. I could just wash up and I'll be perfectly fine. So I thought that was so fascinating. But obviously the conversation comes up of people nearby yo, we were curious, but are you guys actually going out? But even Kyoko's like, well, we had that handshake, but what does that necessarily mean? She's like, are we going out? And even the bigger question is, what does it mean to go out? And she's like, right, she's probably like, we haven't really talked about it, so it's fine. And so Yano just full steaming it, being like, hey, Kyoko, Yoshida-san, do you want to go out? And she's like, can I get back to you now? He's like, yeah, sure. She needs to take her time because she needs to figure out what exactly that means. And so she's listening to her sister talk about to her brother, oh, are you and so-and-so going out now? And now it's Kyoko's having to ask her younger siblings for advice, specifically her little sister, about it. Yo, what does that actually mean? And she's like, it means, yeah, you're going out. And it's like, yeah, but why would you go out? And she's like, what other reason would you need? And she's like, you don't need a reason. It's the thing is, Kyoko's overthinking it. Sometimes it is just that simple, but it's right, she's stressing out. This is something new for her and Yano, so it's she doesn't really know. And that's the thing, we keep cutting back to the phone periodically throughout the episode, asking the question, what does it mean to go out with someone? You're kind of assuming it's Kyoko. I doubt it's Yano's. It probably is, because Kyoko seems to be the only one stressing about that. Because even Yano doesn't really know, but he's kind of just going with the flow of it, rather than kind of stressing out about it like Kyoko is. But the person they end up getting advice from ends up being her sister's friend, who it's like, they call her like the relationship master or whatever, but it turns out all her relationship advice and stuff is stuff she's picking up from manga that she read, which is so funny and ironic considering the thing that gave Yano the push last episode was the manga series he borrowed from Hashiba, who claims it was mainly for his sister, which it probably was, but we know that he also partakes in the manga as well. So I just think that's so fascinating. It's just like, but yeah, she talks about, what was her name, Miyu, it's just kind of gives like base level advice, but it's still good advice, especially considering like Kyoko feels so lost, because it's like, oh, like you want to hang out with this person and you kind of want to talk to them all the time and stuff like that, which Kyoko wants to. And it's like, oh yeah, when we talk on Lime, and then Kyoko was like, oh, me and Yano exchanged Lime accounts, IDs, but like other than like the small introduction to each other, like talking, like other than like the little pleasantry, we haven't like talked beyond that. And the reason why, because she's like, what if the person, like, you're afraid to kind of talk to the person because you're afraid they'll be annoyed by you, and that's her greatest fear, because she doesn't want to like, she likes him so much she doesn't want to be annoyed. And I'm like, dude, I get it. Like that was, I've had that struggle too, where he's like, I don't want to come off like annoying to the person, and I don't want to be a nuisance or whatever. But I love Miyu's thing of like, why should that matter? Like, if you like this person and they like you, they're going to want to spend time with you. So why not kind of go full throttle? Like, don't like, stop holding yourself back. There's literally no reason to when a person likes you too. And it's like, and he's made it clear that he likes you. So, and her hugging Miyu, being like, "Oh, master," it's like, yeah, like it all worked out in it, and like, I guess at the end of the day, it's like whatever advice you can get, whatever the source may be, as long as it helps you grow and find your way forward, it shouldn't matter necessarily where the source is. Even though it's like a younger person who's also getting information from manga, good advice is good advice. So I love that the next day, she's like, right, I've showed up to school a little bit earlier, and I'm going to have my plan of attack ready when it comes to the Yano of it all. But I love that you can see that Yano's like literally a couple steps behind her, and she's like completely caught off guard, not expecting to see him. So it's like, right, I have something to say, drags him to a secluded part of the school, and makes it clear about like, she wants to talk to him all the time and wants to hang out with him. And she's like, I was worried about being annoying to you, so I haven't really said, and I want to be able to talk to you online before we go to bed type of thing. And it's just like, I want to go out with you if you don't mind. And Yano's like, I feel the exact same way you do too, so I'd love to go out. And they shake hands again. So it's very beautiful. You're like, hey, it all works out. Then we had the Hashiba scene where he finds Yano in the art room, where we find out Yano is technically part of the art club, and it's like, how are you technically? He's like, well, I just stopped coming the second half of my first year because of my what was the word I was about to use? Can't think of the word I was looking for, but basically his situation being him being kind of like the clumsy act he is, and him always being so afraid. That's why it's so interesting that like Kyoko was so afraid of like being an annoyance, and it's like Yano's kind of that way too. He doesn't want to be an inconvenience to anyone, so I'm thinking Kyoko making that first step like meant the world to him, because it's like, oh, like for one, they're kind of similar in that capacity. But yeah, that's why he doesn't want to show up to art club, because he's like, I don't want to inconvenience or like cause trouble for anyone else. So, but now it's actually because of episode 2, Kyoko's reaction to his drawing. It made him, like, seeing her so happy about it kind of instilled him with this feeling of like, oh, I want to draw again. And now he's starting drawing again. So it's like, oh, that's really sweet and beautiful that like something you kind of cast aside, you kind of found your way back to something that you like to do, especially because like, hey, the person I likes it as well. Obviously, I love that Hashiba has also become, because like now, because I mean, it came up before about like Kyoko and Hashiba being the ones who tend to like treat Yano like the child. But yeah, like Hashiba comes over and starts treating his wounds, and it's like, oh, is this what Yoshida feels like when she's treating his wounds and stuff? But Yano is so happy now and stuff, and you see kind of like a little pep in his step, and Obviously Hashiba, it's kind of like wondering like, oh, imagine it's like, what if like Kyoko did that for me, like if I got hurt, and he imagines her running towards him and he starts shaking his head. He's like, stop, 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 stop. Don't even think like that. Because he kind of figures like, oh, you two are like dating, you're going out now. And he's like, yeah, we are. And he's like, yeah, it's really like she reached out to me about it. It was actually her decision. He's like, oh, it makes me really happy. And it's like he's saying all this stuff about like, oh, we're talking online. He's like, I use stickers mainly for like my family, because he's like, I don't know if I should probably use that with other people. I'm just kind of nervous about it. And then like Hashiba's like, wait a minute. He's like, and how do you feel about Yoshida? And he's like, oh, I like her. And then throughout the conversation, Hashiba's like, wait, does he think in his head that their relationship has upgraded from like friends to very close friends? So you're like, interesting, because like he doesn't, I think conceptually he doesn't understand boyfriend and girlfriend. He doesn't recognize that's where they are, because he just knows in general he wants to spend more time with her and he likes spending time with her, and obviously gets a little jealous, as we saw in episode 5, that all the Hashiba stuff kind of made him feel a certain way. But I think he doesn't know like colloquially like the definition of what it means to go out. So even though like it probably is just Kyoko's phone we are cutting to, it's still prevalent to Yano as well, because he doesn't fully understand it. But like I said, he's going a little more with the flow, but it's because probably in his mind he has an idea of what it means, even though his idea is a little skewed. But because of that, it's like, oh, he just looks at them as close friends. So when it's all said and done, though, like Yoshida's like, no, sorry, Hashiba's like, Yoshida, I'm still rooting for you, because that came up in episode 4 as well, where he's like, oh yeah, this relationship isn't going to be as easy, so I'm rooting for you. I've got your back. Even though he's got his feelings for Yoshida, it's like, oh, you dealing with Yano is going to be an uphill battle, because not only is he accident prone the way he is, but knowing like, oh, like his understanding of all this is kind of skewed, but the heartfelt intentions are still there, even though like he hasn't quite reached the realm of like knowing that this is about romantic feelings, even though like Kyoko made that clear. But it's like he probably still thinks they're working their way up. So he's like, oh, I went from friend to close friend, and then whatever goes beyond close friend, whatever that means romantically, probably doesn't even really know. Like if you were to be like, oh, this is my girlfriend, he'd just like, oh, this is my friend who is a girl, rather than this is my girlfriend, not recognizing those are two very different things. They can be, I always flip the term around. I always forget. Is it they can be mutually exclusive, or they're not mutually exclusive? I think they can't. Like, but the fact is they can be, because your friend who is a girl isn't your girlfriend, but your girlfriend can be a friend who is a girl. So that's where it's kind of it's interesting, the wording and stuff like that. I also love that Tanaka walked in, slipped on something, and knocked down all those like stands for the canvas, and one falls and hits Yano, and then Tanaka and him are just having a casual conversation. But the whole thing made Yano think about, well, I'm getting close to both of you too. So for him, it's like, right, I can consider you guys friends, because his friend circle was he kept to himself, and now it's slowly expanded upon. He has Yoshida, even though there's more, going on between him and Kyoko, but he has Hashiba, he has Tanaka. I'd assume he count Izumi and Mei amongst that as well. So, and then you have Kyoko and Yano going on what is essentially, all intents and purposes, their first date, because they go to see a movie together, which Kyoko's so excited about. In fact, Yano is too, because he's never been one since he was like a little kid. I don't know if it's just a thing of he could just never find the time with his family, or maybe his situation of being clumsy and it being the environment that they kept him away. But let's not forget, it's not just him, it's his dad too. So maybe like having both of them at the movies at the same time would be a lot. But we never really got into why he just didn't come to the movies anymore. But he's like, yeah, it's like to the point I don't really remember. So it's almost like, was that even real? Was it a dream? So they end up going into the movies. I mean, once again, just little steps along the way. He was worried that he lost his ticket. I was like, oh, God, please don't tell me. But it's like, oh, good, it's in your pocket. Oh, you get a paper cut from it. Cool. And then on the way there, like heading to their screening room, he ends up running into something. And it's like, Jesus Christ, on his way to the thing, he ends up getting hurt. And even Kyoko's like, man, like, and then she starts stressing about it to the point she can't even enjoy the movie because the entire time she's stressing because she's like, oh my god, what if this is too loud? Is this even the best place to be? Because she's like, naturally I picked seats like in the middle row, but more so like to the far left. She's like, were these good seats? I never thought about, like, right, this is his first time, so I didn't even think about that. And now she's stressed about, like, it's gonna be dark in here. What if he gets hurt? Especially because the movie's playing and she's taking a lot of stuff from the movie and applying it to them. And she's kind of stressed out about it, but then she kind of calms down to some extent when she sees Yano and she's watching his reaction, and it becomes more so about watching Yano's reaction to the movie than actually watching the movie until she gets to the end. She's like, I actually didn't focus on the movie the entire time. It's like, yeah, that ends up being the thing of she kind of has tunnel vision when it comes to Yano. But knowing and seeing how excited he was about the movie, about all the different emotions he felt, and he thought was so beautiful. He's like, yeah, I even teared up at certain points in times. And Kyoko starts tearing up, and he's like, oh, you must still be feeling it. And she's like, yeah. And it's like, no, she's overwhelmed by the feelings of just this whole experience. And as they were leaving, she's like, yeah, we went on to cuts herself off. Yeah, hanging out. Because he was like, right, we should do this more. He's like, I'd love to come more. Like, maybe we could also come back here again. And he even asked her, like, when they were leaving, he was like, oh, so was this what people called a date? And she's like, yeah. He's like, oh, wow, so that manga was right. So, but, Kyoko still doesn't have the knowledge of knowing that the motivator, the knowledge that Yano is pulling from is a manga. Once again, doesn't know that her master got her knowledge from a manga as well. So it's funny. But like her takeaway is just kind of like excited by this situation. But then Yano's takeaway from the situation is, oh man, I'd love to come see this movie with my dad because I think he'd really enjoy it. So once again, just showing you the different mindsets about the one person who doesn't stress about it. I guess is not self-aware enough to recognize the stressful nature of it, and then the other character Kyoko being too self-aware and like getting extremely stressed out by it. So quite the interesting pair. I'm excited to see where this journey ends up taking us as we continue forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. So the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.